my dear students, in the previous session we had discussed about the single displacement reaction. And in the today's session we are going to understand about the double displacement reaction. What do we mean by double displacement reaction? Here, the reactions in which there is exchange of ions between the reactants. Those reactions are called as double displacement reaction. Let me represent this double displacement reaction in the general form. Suppose AB is a reactant which reacts with another one reactant, that is CD. What happens in case of double displacement reaction? There is exchange of ions between these two reactants. The cation of this compound combines with anion of this compound to form AD, and the anion of this compound combines with cation of this reactant to form BC. In this way, there is exchange of ions takes place in case of double displacement reaction. We will discuss different examples for double displacement reaction here. First, let us see an activity where we are going to see the reaction between the sodium sulfate solution and barium chloride solution. See here, take about 3 ml of sodium sulfate solution in a test tube. In another test tube, take about 3 ml of barium chloride solution. Mix the two solutions. What observation will we see here in this reaction? Here a white substance which is insoluble in water is formed here. Why is the formation of white substance here? Because here there is a formation of precipitate. Let's see the reaction, what happens here. Sodium sulfate reacts with barium chloride to give white precipitate, that is barium sulfate. That white substance which is formed here, it is due to the formation of barium sulfate. We will understand this once we write the equation for this reaction. Yes, this insoluble substance formed is known as precipitate, and such reactions which show the formation of precipitate can be called as precipitation reaction. Let me write the chemical equation for this reaction. We had taken sodium sulfate here, which has the formula Na2SO4. When aqueous solution of sodium sulfate is mixed with barium chloride solution, that is BaCl2 solution. Here what happens? There is exchange of ions takes place between these two reactants to form NaCl and BaSO4. So there is a formation of sodium chloride which is soluble in water. So we represent it with Aq. And also there is formation of BaSO4, that is barium sulfate, which is insoluble. So we represent it as S. And we call this insoluble substance as precipitate. We call this insoluble substance as precipitate. This is barium sulfate. When sodium sulfate reacts with, this is sodium sulfate, this is barium chloride, which reacts to form sodium chloride and barium sulfate. Here there is exchange of ions takes place between these two reactants to form barium sulfate precipitate and sodium chloride. We can also represent the formation of precipitate with the downward arrow. It will also represent the formation of precipitate. Yes, we have understood what do we mean by precipitate here. It is an insoluble substance which is formed during a reaction which separates out from a solution. We call it as precipitate, and those reaction where there is a formation of precipitate is called as precipitation reaction. As we are studying the types of reactions here, it is important to note the meaning of such reactions. Yes, then we can consider few more examples here. In the solutions of lead, nitrate and potassium iodide are mixed together in a test tube, yellow colored precipitate of lead iodide and aqueous potassium nitrate are formed. Let us write the equation for this reaction. Lead nitrate has the formula PbNO3 twice, which reacts with potassium iodide. There is a formation of yellow colored precipitate of lead iodide, that is PbI2. It is precipitate, so we will represent it with solid state. And also there is formation of potassium nitrate, KNO3. This is the equation for this reaction. Barium chloride reacts with sulfuric acid to form white PPT barium sulfate, and also there is formation of hydrochloric acid. Barium chloride has the formula BaCl2, which reacts with sulfuric acid to form barium sulfate precipitate, that is BaSO4. And also there is formation of hydrochloric acid. Here you can see there is exchange of ions. Barium sulfate is formed and HCl is formed here. And note that in all these reaction you have to balance the chemical equation. Here also you should balance the equation to NaCl. Now all the atoms are balanced on both the sides here. And in this reaction we have two nitrate groups here. I will write here 2. And 2 iodine atoms here. So here comes 2. Now this equation is balanced. And also here we should balance the equation. 2 chlorine atoms here and 2 hydrogen atoms here. So we will write here. Now this equation is also balanced. Let's write one more equation here for this reaction. When the solutions of silver nitrate and sodium chloride are mixed, a white PPT of silver chloride is formed here. AgNO3 is silver nitrate, which reacts with sodium chloride solution to form white PPT of silver chloride, and also sodium nitrate is formed here, which is soluble. This is also white color precipitate. And lead iodide is having pale yellow color. Now these are some examples for double displacement reaction. I don't think that always there is formation of precipitate in double displacement reaction. In many reaction there is no formation of precipitate here. For example, in case of neutralization reaction, which you have learnt in grade 7, that is the reaction between acid and base. We are writing one more example here. And sodium hydroxide is base. There is exchange of ions between these two reactants to form NaCl, which is soluble in water, and there is formation of water here. This is a reaction between acid and base to form salt and water. Here there is no formation of precipitate. Never think that always the precipitate is formed in the double displacement reaction. There are many reactions where there is no formation of precipitate here. You should also remember this point. As we have come across the another one type of reaction here, that is precipitation reaction, we should be able to define it. How do we define precipitate? It is an insoluble substance formed which separates out from the solution during a reaction is called as precipitate. And how do we define precipitation reaction then? The reaction in which an insoluble product, that is precipitate, is formed that separates out from the solution is called as precipitation reaction. So this is all about the double displacement reaction.